The main party backing President Pervez Musharraf has admitted defeat in Pakistan's elections. Can the competing opposition parties put their differences aside and join forces against the president? And just how weak is Musharraf after these elections? Can he be impeached by a hostile parliament? This is Inside Story. Hello there, I'm Kamal Santamaria. Are we witnessing the beginning of the end of Pervez Musharraf's political career? The elections in Pakistan he promised have finally happened, but the result, it would appear, is a resounding win for the opposition parties, coupled with calls for Musharraf to stand down. Celebrations began as it emerged President Musharraf's main backer, the Pakistan Muslim League Q party, the PMLQ, had been beaten into a poor third place. Taking most of the seats, the Pakistan People's Party of assassinated former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto and the Pakistan Muslim League N, PMLN, of another ex-premier, Nawaz Sharif. Both the PPP and Sharif have called for a new coalition government to make dictatorship a thing of the past.
The people have spoken. Musharraf must stand down. We will work with all democratic forces, all those who secured victory. I want to congratulate them and those who participated as opposition parties. I invite them all to come and sit together to rid Pakistan of dictatorship forever.
But the issue is that those two main parties in the Pakistani opposition have a history of swapping power, not sharing it. And that raises the question of whether or not they can pull together to form a united front opposing Musharraf's party and therefore pose any sort of substantial threat to his grip on power. Consider this history. 1994, the PPP leader Benazir Bhutto returned from exile to become Prime Minister for a second time, shortly after the PML's Nawaz Sharif resigned. Then Sharif took over his old job shortly after Bhutto left office, until he was deposed in a coup led by Musharraf in 1999. And then both parties' leaders returned from exile in late 2007 in order to contest Musharraf's rule. Bhutto, of course, was assassinated on the 27th of December, shortly after making this campaign speech in Rawalpindi. Her husband now leads her PPP party and is talking of forming a coalition to lead a national government. Joining us now to discuss the latest election results are our guests, and they come to us not only from all parts of the country but all parts of the political divide. In Karachi, Zafar Hilali, he is the former Special Secretary to Benazir Bhutto and also a former diplomat. In Islamabad, political analyst Ahmed Qureshi. And in Lahore, Rana Masood Ahmed, he is a member of the Punjab Assembly for the PML Nawaz, who has just been re-elected. Gentlemen, welcome to Inside Story. I want to begin, before we get into any sort of debate, with some simple questions to find some answers about where we are going in the future. If I can start in Karachi with Zafar Hilali from the PPP. Put simply, are you willing to form a coalition with the PMLN?
Yes, indeed we are. In fact, we have we took an initiative in this regard even before the election, before the polling date, and Mr. Zardari met with Mr. Nawaz Sharif, and they got together and they had a news conference together, which was carried all over. And I think, yes, indeed, the need for the hour is to get together and have a united national unity government.
Okay, let's put that question then to Rana Masood Ahmed from the PMLN. Same question to you, sir. Are you willing to form a coalition with the PPP?
Yeah, the thing is that right now, the matter on which we have contested the elections, our slogan was to get the judiciary independent, to get the judges free, and for that matter, when we go to the masses has responded very positively. We have been given overwhelming majority in the whole of Punjab and in the National Assembly also. Now, the thing is that yes, we are going for the unity of the country, and whichever party is on this issue with us, we are going to form coalition government with the same party. And right now, I think that the People's Party and PMLN the masses are at the back of both of these parties, and we are going to decide the matter with the will of the people of this country.
And very briefly, yes or no, is it your goal to remove President Musharraf from office?
First of all, yes, we are going to remove him because you told us that his political regime, he hasn't got any political regime. In people here in Pakistan think that the 8 years of Musharraf was his dictatorial regime, and we are going to end the dictatorship right now.
And over to Zafar Hilali back in Karachi from the PPP. Just briefly, same question to you. Is it your goal to remove President Musharraf as well?
It is our goal to have a functional government in office, and it is our goal to restore democracy, and it is towards that goal that the former chairman of our party signed an agreement with Mr. Nawaz Sharif called the Charter of Democracy, and anybody who stands in the way of that being implemented must go.
Okay, so what I've done there is establish at least where the parties are. Both want to form a coalition. Both seem to want to get President Musharraf out of office. Ahmed Qureshi in Islamabad, what do you make of all of that?
The jury is still out on whether these two parties can actually have a coalition government. The fact is that other than this one-point agenda of opposition to the administration of President Pervez Musharraf, the two parties really have nothing in common. And the fact of the matter is that, in fact, they have more things that would bring these two parties away, pull them away from each other than actually to unite them. And we are yet to see, frankly, any sign that a workable coalition is possible between these two parties.
But it would see that joint idea of removing President Musharraf has garnered both parties a lot of votes. Surely they've got something in common there.
Well, it did, but I will not just ascribe that huge mandate that both parties received to just that one point, anti-Musharraf thing. There are a number of things. Pakistanis are angry at the policies of the United States in the region, in Afghanistan, and of course the Pakistani government, President Musharraf's backing for the U.S. government. Pakistanis are angry. There's of course the incumbency factor. People get, of course, fatigued. 8 years, they need change. Everybody likes some change. And then there's of course the whole range of other smaller things, essentially Pakistani domestic issues, the economy, and a number of other things. So there are a number of things. I don't think it'll be fair to say that the reason for the mandate that both these parties received is squarely just an anti-Musharraf thing. It has to do with the war on terror, it has to do with some certain domestic policies, and it certainly has to do with the kind of allies President Musharraf chose from within the Pakistani political spectrum. Frankly, his allies were not really very impressive.
How might Pakistan function, though, in your opinion, if you've got President Musharraf in his role as president and a prime minister, whoever that ends up being, who is in opposition to him? Who would have the real power under that situation?
Let me be very blunt. Pakistan suffers from a flawed political system where power at the top, the executive power, is divided between two people, the president and the prime minister, and sometimes between three people, the army chief, the president, and the prime minister. So we have a flawed political system. Unfortunately, President Musharraf, some of his well-wishers have been advising him over the past 5 to 6 years to do something about this flawed political system. There are a number of options for that, but he chose not to work on that, not to reform this basic flaw in the Pakistani political system. Now, coming back to your question, it is possible, of course, to work. I think it's an ideal situation to have someone like President Musharraf at the top. Why? Because at the one hand, you have the strong military institution, and it needs to, of course, it will protect its concerns and its interests. It's nice to have a president who also understands both the concerns of the military institution and at the same time understands, or at least has developed an understanding for the Pakistani civilian political system as well. And then, of course, you'll have a prime minister. So I think it's good to have this kind of a mix.
Zafar Hilali in Karachi from the Pakistan People's Party. For all the anti-Musharraf talk that has been going around, he did deliver these elections as he promised. He did remove his military uniform as he promised. Does that not show the man is at least a man of his word?
He did deliver elections because he had no option. He had to remove his uniform because he had no option. And the fact that you can tell by the fact of the pre-poll rigging that took place, the fact that he had dismantled the judiciary, had a caretaker government which is supposed to be neutral. Instead of being neutral, it was stuffed with his own people. In fact, the present caretaker prime minister is actually a member of his party. You can tell by all this that what his intentions were not honorable. Alas, for him, what happened was that the stakes became too high. The focus on his actions became very acute. And I think that the time came when, had he tried to rig the elections, there would have been mass agitation. And I'm glad that he did not walk down that path. And let's not also forget that Mr. Musharraf has conducted a series of elections before this particular elections. He had a referendum where he had himself voted into office by about 90% or God knows what figure it used. He himself later said that that was a mistake because that was the most fiddled referendum that has probably ever taken place. Then there were the 2002 elections, massive rigging took place there. So, you know, I mean, the fact of the matter is that if he did not run to form, so to speak, and nothing happened in these elections, which they didn't, mercifully, that's not because he suddenly had a change of heart. I think the circumstances changed, and I think he was forced to see that these elections were fair.
Right, so Zafar Hilali there painting a pretty grim picture of President Musharraf. Just before we go to the break, final thought from Rana Masood Ahmed in Lahore. Zafar Hilali's just outlined a lot of negative things about President Musharraf there. It should also be said that your leader, Nawaz Sharif, has had a lot of issues with corruption allegations as well. He was twice deposed as Prime Minister. He got thrown out of the country last year when he tried to get in. Can he be effective in any real way in this current state in Pakistan?
First of all the corruption charges, they were never proved against Mian Nawaz Sharif. And the second thing is that now the only leader, I think, who at this time can forge the government together is Mian Nawaz Sharif. The second thing is that Musharraf, there is nothing positive for him. All the negatives are for him. You see that one day before elections, he went on TV, he went on press and said that PMLQ is going to win the election. He was not willing to hold these elections. He was going from one post to pillar to post to postpone these elections, but the pressure of the public, the masses was so great, and then the judiciary crisis, all of these things forced him to hold these elections.
Gentlemen, stay with us. We are going to take a short break here on Inside Story. When we return, we'll discuss the international dimension to this vital vote. But before that, a few comments from the streets of Pakistan on the result of these latest elections.
All the people is very happy. Warning of the government, Mr. Musharraf, is possible is resign. No resign, otherwise kick out the people from President House.
Now he have to go. No need anymore. Because everywhere is the problem. We cannot to work. Everywhere is the problem.
I think elections were conducted in a very transparent and very fair manner. And I think the system, political system, will be changed because people have decided.
The vote has been counted in this. The election is very fair and transparent in this election.
Yes, this morning is a very bright morning. I'm very happy that change has been occurred. Musharraf will go now. I'm just saying this. He will go now.